Thank you for listening to today's training. Take a moment and look at our agenda. For the sake of this virtual training, we will not be participating in the Kahoot. The above tests are what SOLs will be given this year. As a reminder, these are all CAT tests, except for science. Correct answers lead to harder questions, while incorrect answers lead to a less difficult item. There will be questions that may be above grade level. These do not count towards a student's score, rather towards their vertical scaled growth. Take a moment and look at how many questions will be on each student's test. As a reminder, there are local alternative assessments in all grade levels. Please make sure your team plans accordingly. If you need assistance with these, feel free to reach out. This is our schedule for the SOLs. It has been sent out to families. Please make sure you're communicating the dates in your weekly newsletters. Spring 2023 Science SOL tests will measure 2018 science standards. There will be new science item types called science item clusters. These will count towards a student's score. Students are no longer allowed to test over multiple days unless they have a test over multiple days accommodation, which then the student would take paper pencil. One-day testing means no more seal codes. Handheld calculators are no longer allowed unless specifically written in an IEP or if a student is taking a paper pencil test. Similarly, there are no more paper formula sheets. The calculator will appear in the toolbar when it is allowed, and when it is not allowed, it will not be there. Please train your students to look for this tool. This shows an example of what it looks like with a calculator available. Here is an example of a math item without a calculator. Notice it says no calculator, and there is no calculator available up here. And finally, here is an example of a student who would have the calculator accommodation. While the computer says no calculator here, it is still available for them up here. Please make sure you are reviewing this with your students so they can know the toolbars and know the tools and how to use them. And last, the formula sheet will be found right here. Again, there will be no paper formula sheet for grade 6 and 7. Test nav practice. Please practice with your students the various tools we just discussed. Many of them have taken the VGA, but this new calculator situation is new for everyone. It's best practice to review these skills so that every student is prepared. An updated set of practice items are available in TestNav for science, the new science items. There's also guided practice suggestions. This is a video that you can view to help understand online audio. This is a video that you can help review to understand what students need to know for math tools. This is a video that you can review to help understand your students' comprehension of the reading tools. Before testing, please read your examiner's manual, sign and return the test security agreement, check in with yourself and your team with the following. Where are your SPED and ESOL representatives with their accommodation check-ins with Leanne? And once these are complete, we will then need 15 to 20 minutes of a CLT to discuss groups and proctors. There are no cultural observances in the month of May. However, if you hear of an arranged absence that affects your SOL date, please let us know as soon as possible. This is for adults and for students. If you're testing in your classroom, you have to remove all materials from the wall. In addition, we might need to be mindful of cell phones and watches as they are to be off and in backpacks. Finally, students may not bring fidgets, extra materials, or anything else to the testing environment. Please be mindful of this if you're testing in your classroom. You may consider turning your desks around or clearing tabletops. On the morning of testing, you will go to the vault, you'll sign out your test bin, you'll count your test tickets, you'll verify your accommodations, and you'll secure your testing materials in your classroom. In your testing bin, there will be test tickets, audio, non-audio, headphones, your examiner's manual, pencils, highlighters, mice, and scratch paper. If you are a team that would like scratch paper, specific scratch paper, please make sure that you email Leanne and copy Holly on this so that we can get your appropriate paper in your test bin. You're going to have students on the day of testing place their phones and smartwatches in their backpacks and make sure that they are off. They will bring their chargers, computers, and headphones, if applicable, a book to read to testing. And unfortunately, 6th grade, we will discuss what you guys will bring. It is not a book. You will restart your computer and log in. They will take a group bathroom break, and then you'll return to your testing location. As a reminder, if a student has audio, have them plug their headphone in before launching TestNav. Students should also use the icon on their desktop for TestNav because this will force close everything else. Finally, all students should be offered a mouse. New this year is our Google Communicator. If you didn't use this during VGAs, please take a moment and view the video embedded in these slides to view how to use the communicator. We will no longer have chain emails, rather this Google spreadsheet to communicate. The following materials are allowed, and we will put these in bins if necessary. During testing, you're going to have the students launch TestNav from their desktop and they will type in their password. If they are having difficulty logging in, you will write this in the Google Communicator and we will get back to you. As always, remember to stick to the script. There are certain things you can say to a student if they ask you a question. Please review these in your examiner's manual. While students are testing, you are to actively monitor their room. Computers should only be used for the Google Communicator. And of course, no students may be left unattended. My job is to start, stop, restart sessions and individual tests. I will sign out the secure testing materials with you. I'm going to monitor test administration and the students' progress. I'm going to help with regrouping students if we need more time for testing. And I also help monitor special accommodations for students. And finally, I'm also monitoring the Google Communicator spreadsheet, as this is how we will be communicating this year. Breaks are not for whole groups. Small groups where all students receive frequent breaks may be a whole group. During a break, you're going to have the students exit the test, collect test tickets and their scratch paper. Students must remain in the test conditions and be supervised at all times, and we're not discussing the test. And then when you are done with your break, you'll update the spreadsheet that you'll need students to be resumed. Due to one-day testing, we are foreseeing more students testing after lunch. Please plan accordingly with your team if you'd like to keep your lunch or swap with another grade level. If you are swapping with another grade level, you need to please first ask that grade level, and then once confirmed, email me. If you are still testing 5 minutes before your lunch, it is important to write this on the Google Communicator, as we will create a plan together. This plan will include unfinished students logging out of TestNav, proctors collecting all materials, including test tickets, scratch paper, pencils, highlighters. You will walk the finished students to the cafeteria. You will walk the unfinished students to either the lunchroom to get a lunch or their classroom to get their lunch, and then return those unfinished students back to the designated planned room. Once this is completed, you then can take your lunch break. You will pick up your students from the cafeteria if necessary, and then you will meet back at the designated location to continue to test. It is important to note that students who have not finished will need to eat lunch in a designated area that is not the cafeteria to make sure that students are not talking about the test. It is not your responsibility to supervise this area. You will get your lunch. However, it is your responsibility to make sure you get your students to where they need to be before lunch starts. Logistics of recess is important to note. In the past, we would allow you to go out to recess when you were finished. This can happen, but only in the designated open spaces. Similarly, if you miss your recess, the below times are when you can choose from for your students to have recess. As a reminder, irregularities occur and it's okay, but please communicate as soon as possible about them so we can figure out the best solution together. These include inappropriately influencing a student, breaching test security, or inappropriately influencing the reporting of students' performance. Here are some examples of common irregularities. Take a moment and review them. Examiners may discontinue testing for English language learners after the student has sufficient time to answer items on the reading test and they are indicating that they are unable to complete any more items. If you think they are in this situation, please notify me by filling out the Google Communicator for support, and I will come check to make sure that they've completed the appropriate questions, which is 5 or more questions. After testing, please verify they are ready to submit and have clicked the submit button. If you are unsure, write in the Google Communicator and we can check for you. Upon completion, collect all materials, including scrap paper, update your status on the Google Communicator, and return testing materials to the vault. Parent score reports will be mailed home to families at a date to be determined if they do not have parent view access. The scores will come up in parent view at a date to be determined. All students who score within the 375 to 399 range can qualify for expedited retakes. Please take a moment and think about where you are in this process of collecting your class set of forms. Reminder, they are due on Wednesday, April 19th. The following are your next steps. Check in with your ESOL and SPED to see if they have met with me. If they have, then schedule 20 minutes of CLT time to discuss groups and proctors. This can be during the week of May 1st through 5th. Determine your lunch plan. Are you switching or keeping? Determine your recess plan. Thank you for attending this training. Please email Leanne to verify that you have watched this to receive your test security agreement.